Good evening. You're watching Beyond the Headline. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Using bulldozers to demolish homes of those accused in unlawful protests and alleged rioting has become commonplace in the last few months. Now, what started with action in Khargone in Madhya Pradesh during clashes when Ram Navami was taking place has now been replicated across several states like Gujarat, Delhi, UP and Assam. The modus operandi is pretty similar. After an act that the state determines as illegal, whether it's protests, rioting and destruction of public property, those accused often find bulldozers at their doorsteps. The state's local administration then makes the case that those structures were illegal and needed to be demolished. Now, is it just a coincidence that bulldozers are demolishing homes of those accused by the state, or are we now seeing extrajudicial retribution in action without the safety net of due process that the Constitution provides each of us? This is the concern that has been raised by some of India's top legal minds in a letter to the Chief Justice of India, N.V. Ramana, today. The letter asks the Supreme Court to take suo motu action in the case of demolition in UP's Prayagraj after recent protests. The letter also talks about a viral video that shows men accused of rioting being beaten up in custody by the UP police. The essence of the letter is, and I quote, "Coordinated manner in which the police and developmental authorities have acted lead to the clear conclusion that demolitions are a form of extrajudicial punishment attributable to a state policy which is illegal." Now, it turned into letter versus letter quite quickly. A quick response went out from the Akhil Bharatiya Hindu Mahasabha asking the Chief Justice of India to not take suo motu action and, in fact, book the petitioners of the first letter under the National Security Act, saying that a few advocates are justifying riots and are attempting to defame the administration. Now, while this letter versus letter narrative plays out, we need to look at some facts. What local laws say, that's an important part of this whole pie, because if you're really saying that these were illegal, what do these local administrative bodies actually say and what is in their permit? Now, the UP Urban Planning Act is an important one. It's a 1973 act and says that you can demolish a structure if the master plan is violated. You can demolish if permission is not obtained in advance. The UP Municipal Corporation Act 1959 is another important one, because at the end of the day, there is an application of a law when these demolitions are taking place. It says that demolition of unauthorized work can take place. It also says that demolition if the structure is not justified. In UP, there's another very important law which is being applied quite liberally in these cases. It's called the UP Gangsters Act of 1986 and has been used in the Prayagraj violence case. Now, this allows attaching of gangsters' properties by the state. There's similar laws in Madhya Pradesh as well, and there have been demolitions in Madhya Pradesh. So let's quickly go through the laws there. There's the MP Bhumi Vikas Rules of 1984, which says that notices can be sent if property is violating the rules in 10 days. Either leave or fix structures. So you have all of these rules in place. Let me talk about the Delhi Municipal Corporation Act, because remember, the first round of bulldozers very prominently took place in Jahangirpuri after Khargone in Madhya Pradesh. So that's a 1957 act which prohibits the obstruction on streets. You can demolish if built without sanction. You can demolish if building violates bylaws, and the owner is given 5 to 15 days before the demolishment takes place. The corporation can also raise the building after the deadline. So there are rules in place for the justification of using bulldozers if it is indeed an illegal structure. The question is it unusual to have illegal structures in India, and especially in Indian cities? It's important to put that into context, because a lot of the structures in many parts of the country, and especially large cities, are unplanned, right? So in Bengaluru, for example, there are nearly 2 lakh buildings which are deemed as illegal. In Mumbai, it's at least 56,000 structures that we know of. In Chennai, it's 1.5 lakh structures which are deemed as illegal construction. And now whether this law will be applied to all of them or not is a matter of question. Now, the point is, in court, probably all of these authorities can say that our action has nothing to do with the rioting or the protesting or XYZ. These are illegal structures. We send them notices and we can go ahead and demolish it. But isn't there a clear link? Now, these are some of the quotes which come to mind. Shivraj Singh Chauhan, the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, has made it very clear what the intent is. On 23rd of March 2022, he says, and he's quoted in newspapers as saying, I'm saying this clearly today, that Bulldozer is running in Sioni, Shiopur and Jaora town of Ratlam district to end mafias. The houses of rape accused have been raised in Shiopur and Shahdol to teach them a lesson. Unquote. Now, there was another tweet by the media advisor to Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath, which also made it clear what the intent of the state is, since he's the media advisor. This was from Mrityunjay Kumar. On June 12th, in a tweet in Hindi, he said, unruly elements, remember, every Friday is followed by a Saturday, and posted a photo of a bulldozer demolishing a building. So there seems little doubt that there is a clear connection here. Now, the question at play today is, if an illegality is committed, can the state use another law and target the residences of those who are accused? To speak on this, I'm joined today by Justice S N Dhingra, former judge of the Delhi High Court, and Tanveer Ahmed Mir, senior lawyer. Welcome to both of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us today on the show. Justice Dhingra, let me begin with your take on the law and the question of reciprocity here, which is being seen. And we're seeing that accusation made in the first letter we talked about by the prominent lawyers and former judges. What do you make of it?
The former judges and some prominent lawyers have left something very important in their petition, that they should have also written that Nupur Sharma should be handed over to these rioters, and she should be allowed to be beheaded so that everything comes to an end. And they should have also made a prayer that after every Friday, law should allow all the persons who gather in masjid to do riots, to do burning, to do looting, and take law into their own hands.
Justice Dhingra, if I may, with all due respect, I'm talking about the law in terms of using bulldozers, sir. Can you... One minute, sir. 1 minute, sir. I'm asking you on the question of law. I'm not getting into who's right and who's wrong, Justice Dhingra. The purpose of this program is to educate people on what's going on in terms of legality.
I'm saying who is right and who is wrong. I'm only saying the petition is incomplete. Okay. They should have made this prayer also, that Nupur Sharma should be handed over, so that she is beheaded. And
so I'm not talking about this petition. There are two petitions, and I've read out both the petitions. I repeat my question to you, Justice Dhingra. Please listen to
this petition.
No, so listen to... May I ask you to answer my question, Justice Dhingra, and I'm asking this to you a third time, sir, with all due respect, on the matter of where the law stands. Okay. Let me quote Supreme Court. Okay, may I ask the question, sir, so it's clear what context we're speaking in?
You have asked, you need not repeat it.
All right.
Selective application of law.
Yes.
This is what the question is.
Yes.
We quote Supreme Court. Supreme Court, in number of judgments, has said that negative equality is not permitted in law. You cannot say that the house number A, which is also illegally constructed, has not been demolished, how my house has been demolished. Okay. There are umpteen judgments of Supreme Court that nobody can claim negative equality. You cannot say XYZ has not been arrested because he was also involved, how I am being arrested. So where selective application of law is permitted to the Supreme Court itself, then why selective application of law in case of such situation where the people are out to take law in their own hands? People are out to commit riot, people are out to burn shops, people are out to loot properties, and they're out to behead somebody. then the why selective application of law is not required.
All right, that's an important point. Let me get a counter to that, and let's go point by point. Let's stick to what's in the law, and let's stick to legal arguments. What someone may or may not have written or should have written is not in the remit of our conversation, because we don't know what someone wanted to write or could have written. We're talking about what we know today. Tanveer Ahmed Mir, the point that Justice Dhingra is making is that there is a case to use the illegality of a structure against an accused person if they've broken the law. What's your response to that, sir?
That is an atrociously fallacious argument, least expected from a former judge of Delhi High Court. Let me tell you, irrespective of the fact whether 90% about, there is a DDA notification that 1,731 colonies in Delhi are illegal. That makes 65% residential structures in Delhi as illegal. The point here is not what you're demolishing. The point here is, why are you demolishing? When you are demolishing, and what is the purpose? If people are involving themselves in illegal activities and criminal activities, say somebody is, going for a riot, he needs to be booked by the cops. An FIR needs to be lodged. If somebody is pelting stones and causing injuries on the heads of the cops, throwing Molotov bottles, burning something down, you will tomorrow book him up, for a provision of unlawful assembly, causing hurt, attempt to murder. You will tomorrow charge sheet him, bring him to a trial, and finally hand him over a conviction. At no point of time in last 75 years of Indian constitutional history, we are not a banana republic. We are a constitutional democracy governed on the principles of due process of law. That is what happened in Supreme Court in 1977 and 78 when the landmark Maneka Gandhi's judgment was written. Even if somebody's property is illegal, you cannot demolish it as a cause of retribution for somebody participating in a riot. How do you know that the person was actually participating in the riot? Has anybody, any court of competent jurisdiction even charged that person?
Okay.
Have you brought a charge sheet against that person? Have you tried? Have you convicted? Does the penal law of the country say that tomorrow if a person X belonging to any spirituality, worshipping any god by any name, commits a criminal offense, he will be convicted by a court of competent jurisdiction simultaneously without affording any opportunity of hearing even before criminal charges are brought? First, we will demolish your house.
Okay, Justice Dhingra, respond to that. Respond to that. So the question...
Is why the Supreme Court judges are pained.
Okay, one minute. Mr. Mir, you've had your say. We've had your say. Let's keep the conversation moving and give different perspectives to our viewers point by point in a calm fashion, because then they'll get the most out of this program, and so will you. Justice Dhingra, will you respond to the specific points that Mr. Mir has made, that if someone has committed a crime, they should be booked and punished for that crime as part of due process of law, not that their house or their spouse's house should be bulldozed?
One thing which Mr. Tanveer said, we are not in banana republic. I think Mr. Tanveer is not aware that at least our Supreme Court lives in banana republic. You see, we do not care for the poor people whose 4.3 crore cases are pending in different courts, and at least 70,000 cases are pending in Supreme Court, and Supreme Court spends its 75% time on PILs, on hearing senior advocates who charge 7 lakh to 21 lakh fee per hearing for one appearance of the rich people. Either they are politicians, or they are smugglers, or they are big businessmen, and who eat up 75% time of the court. So this is how our courts function. As far as demolition is concerned, let me bring to the notice of everyone that entire scenic form, see, the bulldozer has gone to scenic form for demolition because entire scenic form was illegal. And this very courts saved scenic forms from demolition for about 40 years, from 1971 till date. And this case was with me. I was surprised to see that when the MCD reached there with demolition equipment, the people residing there approached High Court, and High Court said, oh, the notice given by you is not proper notice. It is not, the language is not this. You will serve another notice. Another notice was served, that was challenged. So the courts do not allow the law to take its own.
No, so, sir, in this, Justice Dhingra, in this Scenic Farm case that you're talking about, 1 minute, sir, in this very case you're talking about, because you're speaking about illegal construction. 1 minute, sir, just to understand the point clearly. Justice Dhingra, just 1 minute. Since you're talking about the Scenic Farm case, was it a clear-cut case of an illegal structure and then the local authority has gone to demolish it? Or did it have to do with other alleged acts of criminality that the owners of those Scenic Farm properties may have committed? Because here we're talking about a tit for tat. The context of our conversation is tit for tat.
See, what I am saying is that whenever bulldozers go at any illegal structure, the bulldozers are stopped by High Court, Supreme Court. If the people are rich, if the people are influential, they do not allow bulldozer to demolish these houses. The poor, the law informs poor and victims in a different manner and rich in a different manner. So when the court can make this distinction that when you approach us, we will see how selectively law is to be applied. Why the administration cannot say that we will use the law as a punishment for those who do not obey law.
Okay, so you're saying it's justified. Tanveer Ahmed Mir, your response to that?
See, who do not consider
the justification.
No, but are the courts admitting, Justice Dhingra, I'm just trying to understand the logic of what you're saying. Pardon me, sir. Are the courts admitting that they're taking cases only because people are rich and not because they're poor?
No,
they're not admitting this, right? This is your perception.
No, not my perception. Look into the record of the Supreme Court.
Okay. Tanveer Ahmed Mir, your response to this, sir.
Look into the record of the High Court. Supreme.
Okay. At the end of the day, it's your perception, sir. I will not condone it. This is your comment on the judicial system of this country in your own personal capacity. I want to make that clear. Yes, Tanveer Ahmed Mir.
Ultimately, the honorable judges, the members of the legal fraternity, they are the people, who are the repositories for providing justice to the people at large. Now, we cannot have a system where you will say that justice will be only given to a person from blinker's eye, that if a person is rich. That's a comment which I will never stop. Anybody who goes to a court of law, when Honorable Justice Dhingra used to sit in Delhi High Court and we used to appear before him, he would also look into the brief and decide the case on merits and on evidence. Today, the menace and, the malaise which is, appearing in the government dispensation, in the bureaucracy, in the policing, is that the police people have completely lost their spine. Their constitutional and legal obligation and the oath that they take is they will protect the constitutional rights of everybody at the end of the day. The constitutional rights of any person who is accused of a criminal offense, yet to be arrested, yet to be charge sheeted, yet to be tried for a criminal offense, is not that you will take the first step by demolishing his house. And let me tell you about this Allahabad. In India, when you go into urban areas, you go into semi-urban areas, how many offices, how many houses and residential areas actually have a legal sanction from the municipal
Mr. Mir, some would argue that just because illegality is widely prevalent doesn't mean it has to be condoned.
At the end of the day, the illegality, if somebody is making an illegal house and that house is sitting there for last 30 years, what have been the municipal corporations in Allahabad doing till now? As far as Mr. Javed's house that you are displaying on your TV channel right now, why did the municipal, the order or any notice not come in last 30 years? Why is it that suddenly all members of the family have been apprehended, kept in illegal detention, and on a Sunday, you paste a notice 3 hours down the line, here comes the bulldozer with an army of policemen who have lost their spine for just looking there and demolishing the structure?
All
the
right.
next door neighbor structure is absolutely similar.
So at the end of the day, the question is, it has to land eventually at the door of the courts. Cases have been filed, petitions have gone in, and hence these stream of letters to ask the Supreme Court to take suo motu notice. The courts will eventually get to these cases, one presumes, and meanwhile this is going on. So Justice Dhingra, at the end of the day, would you leave it to the courts to decide whether this is legal or illegal, or have you made up your mind, sir?
I will expect the courts simultaneously to declare India as a country governed by Islamic law, where people at the street will decide whether blasphemy has been conducted or not. I do not
So, Justice
know.
Dhingra, I am talking about bulldozing homes as a retribution for illegal acts, which may be many. I have not talked about any one single community. So let's not meander in terms of what the conversation is about, sir.
The people must know they are not above law, and if they are not above law, the law can.
I'm assuming you're talking about all Indians, that nobody is above law and not just certain sections of society.
The act is illegal.
Yeah.
You are only challenging that why this timing? Why this timing is bad? Why this person has been chosen? You have not said that the act is illegal. If act is not illegal, it is perfectly legal.
Okay.
The timing has to be seen by the administration, not by...
So then, last word to you, Mr. Mir. Then the question is of proving intent. Then the question is in a court of law of proving that this bulldozer action was a retribution. Because the administrations, the local administrations, will go and say that we're doing this not because of XYZ or their family members rioting, but because the construction is illegal. And it is our duty to demolish illegal structures.
See, at the end of the day, thankfully, the honorable judges sitting in various courts and the honorable Supreme Court of India, do not have blinkers on their eyes. They will realize, the judges are able to, when judges have a spine, they are able to realize the circumstances. They are able to realize the things in black and white. They see the larger perspectives. They see what is going on in the society. And then they will take an appropriate decision. The letter or, the petition filed by former Supreme Court judges is fully justified. The Supreme Court needs to send a signal to these ransack and the governments which are running amok, and targeting the minority community only because a minority community tomorrow has no power of right of protest at the end of the day. I'm not here saying that anybody should indulge in a violent protest. If anybody is going for
we'll leave it to the courts. We got your point, Mr. Mir. Justice Dhingra, Tanveer Ahmed Mir, thank you for joining us on the show. I hope our viewers are taking away some of the legal arguments that may follow when the cases finally make it to the court. And of course, we'll have to leave it to the wisdom of the courts. Meanwhile,